Before you turn, just real quick, describe what this is. Like, say,
Now you want me to talk?
say the name of it.
This is our 2023 Pinellas County Ready, Set, Protect Hurricane Guide. We want people to pay attention to there's 3 phases. Ready is when we first get in the cone. This is when I need people to make sure that they're checking their risk, they're putting their plan together, and they know where they're going to go if the storm hits us. And the set phase, that's when I need you to put everything into action. So this is when you're going to start shuttering your home. You're going to make sure that you're bringing all your lawn furniture in. You're going to make sure that you are ready to...
Turning from this angle, you don't have to explain anything. Just keep doing this, ignore me, I'm gonna get a bunch of different shots. But pretend like we're doing the thing we did in the beginning right now again, but without the microphone. But you can still talk.
What is the way for Pinellas County residents to get the information?
So the best way to get information online is our disaster.pinellas.gov website, and you can get to all of our guides. We'll have it in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. You can also pick it up in government offices, and you can call our office if you need to get copies as well. Our message this year is all about Ready, Set, Protect. We want to make sure that people are paying attention to the tropics, and they can do that through our Ready Pinellas app, or also by signing up for a risk for the winds. Really important people stop looking at the cone and they start looking at the bigger impacts. And last year we saw a lot of impacts with the rainfall, up to 20 inches across the state, Ian, and that inland flooding can happen everywhere. We want to make sure that everybody's got their supplies and they know what to get. And when you're doing your supply, so if there's elderly people in your home, if you've got children, if you've got pets in your home, we want to make sure that you're prepared for that. So we want to make sure that people know that, so they don't think that they have to stay in their home. They've got options. We want to make sure that people access information, and as you and I talked about, making sure they're people through the decision. Do you have to evacuate? Stay or go. So, you go through and you answer these questions, and depending on what your answer is, then you determine whether or not you have to evacuate. And if you can stay in your home, maybe invite. This is a key graphic this year. This is our new storm surge graphic to be able to show people what storms could look like across the entire county. I don't think people understand how far inland storm surge can be pushed. And we saw it was up to 20. To be able to move people during daylight hours, that's the best possible. So we have to really look at when that storm is going to arrive in our community. We actually might call for evacuation.
Be calling for an evacuation because it takes that long for our county to evacuate, that they may hear evacuation.
Wait till a watch or a warning, but by then it might be too late, because we've got a lot of people that we have to move out of harm's way.
And what happens when our bridges are full?
I'll be looking at our cameras, and again, if you're going to evacuate out of county, you want to evacuate early. We usually recommend people evacuate tens of miles, not hundreds of miles, because I don't want you to get caught. We have the general population shelters that are open to anyone. The special.
Hold on a second. Okay.
So this is our new evacuation graphic. We want to be able to show people why we evacuate people, because the storm surge, as it comes inland, is going to... So we wanted to show people that if we have 5 to 7 feet of storm surge, it's going to start to impact our zone A. That's why we call those mandatory evacuations. This is what storm surge can start to look like in people's homes. It start to float in cars. When we get into 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, as we saw down in Lee County, you can actually have buildings that are washed off of their foundation. But that water is going to continue to be pushed inland. So now it's going into our zone B and even into our zone C. When you get 2 to 4 feet of water, again, it could be pushing cars around. Those evacuation levels. And we move people because we don't want them to get caught in that life-threatening storm surge.
So you want to just keep going for 10 seconds or so?
Keep talking or just point?
And both.
So if we end up with maybe even up to 26 feet of storm surge, we can see that that water is now potentially getting pushed all the way into our zone E. So we really look at and that helps us determine where that water is going to be pushed in. We look at the waterways along the intercoastal, along things like Joe's Creek. People don't realize that once water gets pushed in, it's going to look for that area of least resistance. So it's going to...
That 5 to 7, because we're going to be more likely, and it's easier for you to talk about.
Yeah, So the 5 to 7 here, we're showing that that water's gonna start to get pushed in. This is where we're gonna evacuate for our zone A. But we're still gonna have impacts in here in the zone A. You can see that cars can get pushed around. People could end up with water above their house in the rest of the county, because this storm is not just gonna end right at the coastline. It's gonna impact us further on. And as you can see, we have the graphic here that shows how this is catastrophic. This is life threatening. People are, have a very small chance of surviving this. And we have all the different categories just kind of showing, how much storm surge there could be, and even though, zone D and E might not get any storm surge, they still could see some significant storm surge. For those community centers. County. They had storm surge come into their parking lot, so imagine the employees, like you're in there working and you're outside looking.
Shelters and whatnot.
So you can see from our map, we've got a couple of areas in our county that are non-evacuation zones, and really what we're focusing on this year is working with schools to help mitigate some of these, and only picking sites that are outside of our evacuation zones. I don't want to put people in a shelter and then have to move them if the storm intensifies.
Do some more pointing.
Good thing I painted my glasses.
What's over here in Clearwater?
Some shelters over here, because these are the higher points, so we want to make sure that we've got shelters that are located outside of our evacuation zones.
How full did the shelters get?
During Irma, they filled up quite a bit. We had over 25,000 people in shelters. During Hurricane Irma, we had about 5,000. So we saw about an 80% reduction in people coming into shelters, and that was statewide. So that's why we want to make sure that we do more messaging to let people know that these shelters are available if they need them.
I know it's silly. Just do some more pointing with there, without laughing and snickering.
Sorry.
And point to the Clearwater ones again.
Yeah, we use this a lot. Like the sheriff and the county administrator come in, and we really use it to kind of show the timing as the storm is getting closer, and he's got to make decisions about how long he can keep his. This has been, I think HurrEvac is a really great tool for that, because again, like you were talking about, some of those graphics that come out are very confusing.
Yes. Because I've just been clicking through and somebody's made it.
So do you have a commercial product like this one, Diane?
No, we just have products that come through our system that were Hurricane Center graphics. That just confuses people.
Yeah.
You might want to wait until he's ready to.
But yeah, HurrEvac only,
Record it.
or just.
Well, no, I have nowhere to
We're
go.
still here to talk about it, so that's a good
Yeah.
thing. So you had to go to work, so you couldn't be there.
I was traumatized, but
Things can be replaced. Maybe more expensively. Yeah, there was somebody in the video, I think they talked about how they wanted to stay behind to protect their home,
In what way?
Uh-huh.
In what way?
I mean, just the crazy thing now is even weaker storms like Nicole, I mean, that's still multi-billion, just
Mhm.
because the sheer amount of property and things owned.
So we use this a lot when we look at like the exit of the storms, like I was saying earlier. We do really want to look at what is the duration of the time it's going to be sitting on top of us.
And especially for like this, the timing of the strong tropical storm force winds and the hurricane force winds.
I am ready here.
you see what you mean with that graphic where the words are like all over the place.
Yeah, see what I mean, that's just,
See, you know, when you compare the cone to like the words.
Around and get a bunch of shots and
Spencer, what's the latest coming out from the Hurricane Center?
Well, for Ian, it looks like there'll be some winds and some rain.
Not bad.
So, wind-wise, we're looking at potentially hurricane force with gusts to major hurricane force.
When do you think the arrival's going to be? So we can start mapping out our best, mid, and worst case scenarios.
Wind start time would be around September 28th at 9 a.m., exiting around September 29th at 2 p.m., giving us a total of about 29 hours of tropical storm force winds.
What is to adjust all of our figures to be able to count for category 4? So our clearance time for category 4 is 42 hours.
Evacuate and impact about 565,000 people.
All right, so let's get on the phone with the National Weather Service and just confirm with them our slosh model. So we'll need forward speed and the direction so that way we can run our different scenarios. And we can start to make sure if there's facilities we don't have to evacuate, we can be communicating that with them. Let's really see what this is going to be. What time is our next conference call?
Our next conference call is
Your home?
County administration has been pushing out messaging in coordination with HR, and all department directors have been directed to continue implementing preparedness messaging to their employees.
Let's get Lisa Foster on the phone, our floodplain manager, so we can hear what's going on with the gauges, what's going on with Brooker Creek, so we can determine. And then we'll also need the tidal information, so we know how long the storm is sitting on top of us. That's gonna exacerbate our coastal flooding.
Yeah, Brooker Creek is a significant concern with the amount of rainfall that we've had. The BDI, I believe it is, has very saturated soils within the entire area of West Central Florida. So that'll be exacerbated by anywhere from 10 to 20 inches of rain. Yep, Public Works is beginning hotspot inspections and clearance. They did it recently for the most running their flood plans.
Sure that everything in Ready Pinellas is switched over from our blue sky guide to our gray sky messaging.
everything's been pushed over to gray sky messaging, including disaster.pinellas.gov.
Okay, perfect.
And that's also been pushed through.
Thank you.
do some typing.
Wait.
So you hear key noises.
Let me put a
I know
blank.
these are soft keypads. If you do some
Oh no,
key
she's
clacking,
got key clacking.
awesome.
They said you could tell how angry I am by how hard I'm clacking keys.
Let's do it.
And which shelters we might want to open. We need to know about the disaster assignments. We'll need to start verifying that the employees they're already thinking about their timing. I'd like to know when he needs us to start moving supplies over so we can work with schools. Where there's like multiple phones going on.
Right. The supplies have been prepped and are ready to move to from the warehouses to the schools, and all the special needs staff have been contacted.
Okay. I'd also like to check and see how many MREs we have in stock and then how much water, and then based upon our shelter demand, do we need to order additional supplies from the state?
Logistics is already working on that, and we'll get those numbers to you shortly.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Oh, now you gotta do clicky click, I think.
I don't know.
You can do trackpad if you want.
I make sure there's nothing on here that's illegal.
I just got the trackpad. You can just
Okay.
keep doing that. It's good.
Okay,
Not yet. The next advisory will be at 2 p.m. For the intermediate, the next full advisory will be at 5 p.m.
so we have the 1 o'clock with the weather service coming up.
Yep, and
Correct.
then we'll meet with the region right after that.
Okay. Manatee counties.
Not yet. I believe Hillsborough County was looking at school closures, but haven't made any decisions yet.
I've reviewed their incident action plans and situational. Each day, our next one is at 2 p.m. today. They haven't reported any issues so far, but they're
evacuate for this? I don't have the exact hospital numbers, I just have 125 healthcare.
Somebody's rude, yeah.
Yeah, poor Spencer's usually working most of the day with me, and then he'll go to the nights, and then usually I can't get him to go to sleep. He just wants to be
When
here.
there's a storm, I can't sleep. Maybe a couple hours, but my brain will pop up like, oh, the GFS is running. Oh, the Euro's running. It's time to wake up.
It's
Oop,
exciting.
the next advisory's out.
It's kind of exhilarating, you know?
I mean,
It is, and
We've also requested some incident management teams to support the EOC logistics section and EOC planning section.
have we heard back on if the National Guard is gonna be available?